Real talk. Our sugar-laden diet is just plain killing us. It's much slower than a bullet. Surgery is just one tool. It's time to put the other tools in the toolbox because it's your body, your health, your life. This is a 5-pound bag of sugar. 200 years ago, the average person ate 2 pounds of sugar a year. Today, the average American consumes 152 pounds of sugar a year. This is equal to 3 pounds or 6 cups of sugar consumed each week. This is 30 tablespoons of sugar. The average American consumes 30 tablespoons of sugar a day. Does this concern you? One 20-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola has 65 grams of sugar. That's equal to 5 Little Debbie donuts. The American Heart Association in March 2013 attributed 180,000 deaths worldwide, 25,000 of those in the United States. Those deaths attributed to sugary beverages. Sodas and fruit drinks were not the only sources of sugar they claimed. As bariatric patients, as weight loss surgery patients, we are already subject to deficiencies, to transfer addictions, to food addictions, overeating, and we just don't have that method anymore, that overeating, using food as a coping mechanism to deal with our feelings and any challenges that come forward in our life. When we get to 1 year post-op and a little bit further, our restriction lightens up a bit for some of us. And for some of us, we know how to navigate or how to trick our bodies to avoid dumping syndrome. But what happens is that temptation just becomes stronger and stronger, and we get sidetracked easier and easier. Like sugar is everywhere, right? It's that donut at work. It's that box of chocolate. It's that celebration. It's that dessert that's at your favorite restaurant. After watching this video, I'll be totally shocked if you're not willing to get this poison out of your life once and for all. Sugar is the food that nobody needs, but everybody craves it. Through time, we as humans, years and years ago, evolved on very little sugar or any refined carbohydrates. In fact, sugar probably entered our diets by accident. In many ways, sugar and tobacco, those industries are closely aligned. Both products, sugar and tobacco, were produced by slave labor, and we were told that those products were healthy and beneficial to our health. Although sugar and tobacco have ancient origins, it wasn't until the mid-17th century where mass consumptions of sugar started to happen, and then those health risks were starting to be associated with the consumption of sugar. Sugar is one of the top 5 world commodities. The sugar trade is the most complex trade in the world today. It includes government agreements, price quotas, subsidies, and preferred treatment. Can sugar be really addictive? Sugar addiction is one of the most addictive food addictions there is. And it's so shady because most of the time we don't even know it's there. Many studies have shown that sugar is very palatable and super addictive. This allows manufacturers, food brands, etc., to put excessive amounts of sugar into foods that we're not even aware of. And the thing is, it doesn't even taste that sweet. How do I know if I'm addicted? Well, just like nicotine, alcohol, illicit drugs, or any other behavior, when it starts to become a negative behavior, it starts to overcome your life, it's changing or impacting the quality of your life, it's keeping you from doing the things that you want to do, then pretty much you know that it is an addiction for you. Some are addicted to the actual sugar, but some people are just addicted to the actual sweet taste. So the people that are addicted to the sweet taste, even the artificial sugar-free sweeteners is still going to keep them addicted because they're actually addicted to the taste of sweetness. A food is at its bliss point when the eater feels like it's just right. It's that perfect saltiness, perfect sweetness, perfect richness, which comes from the fat. The term bliss point was coined by a very famous American market researcher. The bliss point is a perfect thing for the food industry. It's where they know exactly excessive amount of sugar to put into products that keeps us liking the products, but wanting them more and more and more. So what is exactly sugar? Sugar molecules are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. I'm not going to get into the really detailed science of sugar, but just know the simplest form of sugar is glucose or fructose. Refined sugar has no nutritional value. It's just empty calories. Refined sugar does not involve or contain any vitamins, enzymes, minerals, fats, or fiber. I know some of us out there think that sugar is separate from carbohydrates, but the thing is, we can't escape really sugar because sugar is the building blocks of carbohydrates. Did you know there's at least 115 different names or labels for sugar or sweeteners? To avoid listing sugar for 10 times in a product, food manufacturers may use a different name. That is why you can find a product, if you go and look at a product, if you knew all the 115 different names for sugar, there's products out there that may have 15 and above labels of sugar in one product, but you're not reading it as sugar. Many, many foods contain hidden sugars, such as condiments, breads, cereals, soda, fruit drinks, flavored yogurt, peanut butter, granola bars, tomato sauce, dried fruit, many, many salad dressings, marinade, and just about every processed food has some kind of added sugar. Sugar is even added to what we call savory foods. The food might not even taste or appear sweet. Be super aware of low fat or no fat foods. That means they've added a lot of sugar to compensate for the lack of taste because fat gives taste. The thing is, carbohydrates and sugars are not two different things. It's true that we all know what sugar is, like the white stuff or the brown stuff. We get that as sugar, as being sweet and highly addictive. It's where it gets a little tricky when it comes to the carbohydrates, the refined carbohydrates in our diet. The category of carbohydrates can be a little bit tricky to get our heads around. It covers a lot of food types out there, but try to think of it as simple carbohydrates or complex carbohydrates, simple sugars or complex sugars. And it usually falls into three main categories. So carbohydrates falls under grains and cereals, beans and legumes, or fruits and vegetables. So table sugar, like I showed at the beginning of the video, is very simple. It's a simple carbohydrate. Now, a complex carbohydrate, for example, like whole grain pasta, is a complex carbohydrate. But at the end of the day, no matter what, our body breaks it down into simple sugar. While this can get kind of complicated, it really isn't. Sugars are carbs and carbs are sugar. However, keep in mind, regardless if sugar is coming from a natural state or an added sugar, both of them will have an impact on your blood sugar levels or your A1C level. The GI index or the glycemic index is a value or a measure that measures food and how it impacts your blood sugar levels. It is a scale from 0 to 100, and the higher the glycemic food, the higher the glycemic score of that food, the more it impacts your blood sugar levels. But don't be fooled. There's a lot of vegetables and fruits out there that are very high on the glycemic index and can impact your blood sugar levels. So why do we care about the impact of sugar, and why do we care about knowing our blood sugar levels and how certain foods impact our blood sugar levels? The plain simple explanation is sugar increases inflammation, and that's cellular inflammation. Sugar raises insulin levels, which inhibits the growth of hormones and depresses the immune system. Too much insulin promotes the storage of fat. The thing is, sugar does so many other bad things in addition to increasing cellular inflammation and raising our insulin and our blood sugar levels. Sugar feeds infection. Whenever you have a cold or some kind of infection, stay away from sugar for sure. It feeds it. It can cause insomnia, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, hypoglycemia, breakouts and skin irritation, tooth decay, metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes. And did you know that nowadays in the United States, 1 in 3 people have pre-diabetes, meaning they're not even aware that they are so close to having type 2 diabetes. So unless you are really familiar with your blood sugar levels and you get them tested often, you could be pre-diabetic. Sugar actually changes the muscle protein in our heart, which can impact the pumping mechanism of the heart. Excessive sugar consumption is linked to cancer. Glucose consumption accelerates the aging of our skin. Sugar consumption is tied to memory deficiencies. Consuming lots and lots of refined sugar depletes vitamins like our vitamin B. Sugar is just empty calories, and it really puts a lot of strain on our liver. Any leftover sugar that can't be metabolized by the liver is converted into fat. And get this, I didn't really know this, but it totally makes sense. Sugar can make you stink. It actually breaks down the tissues in our body, and it can lead to just bad body odor, which is not fair to a person who is like super clean and really concerned about their hygiene. So how can we overcome it? I want you to stick around to the end of the video. I do have a free download. It's called my Sugar Freedom Change of Habit Handbook. It'll just give you some tips and tricks on how to manage or overcome your sugar addiction. So let's kind of get into real talk on how to kick this sugar habit, this sugar addiction that we have. First things first, it's going to be hard. Like any other addiction, it's going to be super hard. We're dependent on it just like a drug. Coming off of it, you have to be prepared to have withdrawal symptoms. It will depend on how many years have you been addicted to it, how many carbohydrates and refined sugar have you had included in your diet every day, how long have you been doing this, and what are you using it for to overcome. So as any addiction to any substance, it probably will have withdrawal symptoms, and you have to be prepared for it. The real talk is sugar stimulates the brain just like heroin and cocaine does. So a little leads to more, and you'll never get enough. So just to get you prepared, some of the physical changes or the physical things that might happen when you're giving up sugar are, you might start to feel a little run down, some fatigue, maybe even develop headaches. You might develop lightheadedness or dizziness. Some experience nausea and just kind of that overall fatigue. It's your sugar detoxing from your body. And also remember, there's also a mental aspect when you start cutting out sugar and kind of withdrawing from having sugar in your body, detoxing, is that there could be a number of emotional and mental health issues that start to get triggered, and you might start slip into kind of a depressive mood. This is partly due to that decrease of dopamine release, like you're losing the high, the hit, like a drug does. So you are starting to come off of it. So you're decreasing the dopamine so that your mood has to adjust. You might feel a little bit more anxious, a little bit more restless. You just have to be prepared. You have to be patient with yourself and know that as you kind of detox and go through this, it's just getting the sugar out of your body. You might find it hard to fall asleep or stay asleep. Some people have difficulty after reducing sugar or giving up sugar with memory and just concentration and cravings. You know, alongside the sugar cravings, you might notice an increase for cravings for the other things, and most likely you're going to be craving those other carbs like breads, pasta, potato chips. My challenge to you is make the decision to do it. Get it out of your life. Sometimes going cold turkey is just, easier because weaning off it, easing off it seems to be harder. Your body is, yes, you'll go through withdrawal symptoms, but you're just kind of keeping it, just knowing it's coming. You're kind of keeping yourself a little bit high as you ease off. So sometimes people find quitting cold turkey, removing it completely, is easier and faster to get over it. Commit yourself to a 10-day sugar detox. It's going to be hard at first. I know you can do it, but you're going to feel so much better after. A 10-day sugar detox will change. It'll reset your brain and your body. Some tips before downloading my Sugar Freedom Handbook is set one goal at a time. Call it like it is, like take your power back. Call it a sugar addiction. Address the addiction like any other addict would. If it really is truly a bad addiction that you don't feel like you can get over yourself, then you do have to get professional help. And there's no shame, guilt, or judgment in doing so. If sugar was a supervillain, it definitely would be the Joker. But get this. If sugar's the Joker, then bad fats, vegetable oils, is the penguin. Those bad fats, those vegetable oils, are in just as many products as sugar. Check out my next video on those shady, unhealthy oils. So now go look in the description box for the link for my free download, Sugar Freedom, the Change of Habit Handbook. Have a great sugar-free day.